Okay, well, welcome everyone to the latest Monday Majlis. It's a real pleasure to have Professor Sari Hanafi from the American University of Beirut. And as is our tradition, before we start to discuss his book, we will ask him a few questions, starting with his journey. How did he come to where he is now? Sorry, let me just close one. And also if he has any particular advice for our students before we discuss the book. So welcome, Sadi, to the Monday Majlis. And
Thank
let
you,
me ask you,
Tajad.
thank you for coming. Let me ask you the first question, which is, so how did you get to where you are now? What was your intellectual journey?
Well, I have a very eclectic journey, if you like, or multidisciplinary. So I started studying civil engineering, but in the same time, sociology, which is not allowed in Syria. But because I wanted to change the world. I mean, I was politicized. Of course, retrospectively, I barely understand the word. So this is why I went to sociology, and I did my PhD in France. uh, Always very interested in sociology of religion. I grew up in a religious family, so I have, if you like, almost political affiliation to Palestinian group and Syrian group, coming from different ideology, and so it was so enriching for me, if you like, in when I was young, um, seeing all this, if you like, the polarization in elite formation, and not only in Syria where I grew up, but also in the Arab world, generally speaking. And I think the Arab Spring in 2011 show how polarized our society. So, this is why I kept. I mean, doing sociological field work, interested on social changes, but also interested on cultural aspect of our tradition, if you like, how people forge their moral reasonings using different sources of morality. And yeah, so this is something haunt me a long time ago.
Uh,
So and
so,
this,
so
yeah. So
so you did. It was very much sociology of religion then, right?
yeah, I mean, I did other things. You cannot be Palestinian without being political sociologist, if you like. And in the same time, my first big project after I finished my PhD, it was about Syrian refugees. It was the time of Oslo process, where it was some interest to know how Palestinian diaspora will contribute to the emerging Palestinian entity. So, I started my career with big projects actually, and but. But I have been always interested in Islamic movements, but also on uh, Islamic education, things like that. And the fact that I spent almost 16 years in a position in the International Sociological Association, from executive committee to vice president to president to this association, I I witness what is a global debate. I mean, So, and it was so enriching for me to see what kind of debate on sociology of religion worldwide. I mean, so more and more I am I de-exceptionalize the Arab world, the Islamic world. I think there is something brought by our late modernity that really affect everyone. I mean, positively and negatively.
No, I think that's a really important point that we sometimes tend to be rather siloed in our particular areas of expertise, and we don't necessarily make the links with the wider discipline. And certainly, I think um, I certainly encourage my students, but also in terms of people I discuss with, to think a bit more globally about what it is that we're trying to do. So whether it's about the study of religion, whether the study of intellectual history, which is what I do, it's really about thinking what that means in a global context and at a global level where you don't have a certain notion of either exceptionalism for certain areas and certain subjects, but also for um, the what might call we might call the default position in a particular discipline and how we might understand that default. So yeah, I think that that's really important. And I know you've worked quite a lot on I guess what we might call sociology of knowledge. And in some ways, the book is part of that sort of interest. You know, how it is that it is that fields have developed and how it is that we study things.
Exactly. I mean, I was very interested in knowledge production in the Arab world. If you like, a kind of sociology of scientific research, but I realize how social sciences have been delegitimized by the Arab authoritarian states. They are not interested in research, in research-based policy, but also heavy suspicion of religious authorities of social science, and I feel it clearly today. And so this mistrust between this religious authority institutions with social science encouraged me, if you like, to look to what happened in Sharia and Islamic studies curriculum in the Arab world, and this is how the book starts its journey, if you like, with this inquiry to see what is the content of the social science. But in the same time, if you like, as I have a strong religious background, so I was capable to read even religious text and to see how sometimes outdated, if you like, and how curriculum become like mutun. I mean, just memorizing by heart some fiqhi and domains, but in the same time, the absence uh, um, of the course of ethics, if you like. Rarely in the Arab world where you have مادة الأخلاق, ethics. So you have curriculum a little bit about Quran al-Kareem, a little bit about Hadith al-Sharif, and then you go into fiqh. So there is nothing overarching, if you like. There is no what is social Islamic social theory, if you like, or Islamic ethics. So
Uh,
you see, if I do analogy with sociology, you will have a very important uh, uh, course called social theory or sociological theory. in Faculty of Sharia, in most of the Arab world, you don't have the equivalent. So they think by learning a little bit about Quran and interpretation about Prophet say Hadith and etc. It's sufficient to move on into very atomized fields, different fields of fiqh, the jurisprudence of marriage, jurisprudence of economic transaction, jurisprudence of divorce, and things like that. So,
Well, we'll obviously discuss the book in a bit more detail, but before we get to that, can I just ask you, like we often ask our guests, if they have any advice for our students? So any particular thing which you know, drawing on your experience in the field, is there something that you would advise our graduate students in
Uh,
terms of their own particular journey?
uh,
apologies, Sajad. Not just our students, ourselves as well, colleagues,
Yes, of
at
course.
any stage of our career.
Yeah, but drawing very much on your experience. Yes.
well, I'm someone who meticulously keep notes on my in the time where I read paper, and now it's much easier. So really, this is a kind of organization is extremely important, and to classify it at a certain point that it will be easy to find specific issues on time. So this is what for me it's important. And if I want to make it in a sarcastic way, to say never respect IRB, Institutional Research Board, in a sense that this board want always a research to start in a certain moment and to finish in a certain moment. So a social research, I mean, the research I did, it has never been any starting time and ending time. I always exploring. I always the interviews I did outside. If you like, the formal interview is much more important than the inside. So all this standardization and bureaucratization of research is disastrous of how if you like, we end up have a rich texture of our thick description of what we are studying. So this is, if you like, on nutshell, this is my suggestion that always, I mean, for me, research is really you, people should do it out of love. Otherwise, it is very difficult to end up, in some articles, it's read by 10 people.
Yes.
So those who are really, spending time and doing something just boring and with a template and review students, for instance, end up in a table, etc. So okay, they can be promoted, but without soul. I mean, research without soul. Unfortunately, more and more with the commodification of higher education, we are all pushed to publish quickly without digesting, etc. So this is, if you like, how I see things today. A little bit frustrated.
No, no, I understand that, but I guess in a sense one has to balance it, right? So I mean, because we don't want either our students or colleagues to be out of a job, we there has to be a sense in which you have to, of course, play by certain rules. But keep in mind that one's own kind of research life is richer and more than just those particular um, sort of goals that one has set within a particular context, usually a context which is determined by funding, right? So
Yes.
it's really about how you might balance the two demands. Okay, so shall we let's move to discuss the book then. So if we can maybe start by you saying something about how it is that you came to write the book. I mean, what was the initial motivation for working on this particular topic, and then we can discuss
Well,
details.
well, as I started saying that I live in a very polarized society in the Arab world, but I think polarization now everywhere in UK and in United States, in France, etc. But in that time, I see the fault line of polarization is between hard secularism and religious people. So this is why I was hunted by, if you like, bridging the between these two elite formations. And this is why the book, it was out first in Arabic and then in English. In Arabic تجاوز القطيعة بين علوم الشرع والعلوم الاجتماعية. And I use a title of a book of طاهر بن عاشور, الشيخ طاهر بن عاشور, أليس الصبح بقريب, which is also a Quranic verse. So it's also an attempt to be a constructive critique and of how what has been taught in Faculty of Sharia in the Gulf, particularly Kuwait, but Qatar, in the Middle East, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, in North Africa, Algeria, and Morocco, and Malaysia, because I was interested in Islamization of knowledge, which I will talk about it in a few minutes. So, if you like, the motivation is really to try to understand why you have this rupture. And rupture is not coming only from one side, if you like. At my university, American University of Beirut, the first 23 workshop organized about the Arab Spring, starting from 2011, they invited two Islamists. Actually, I was the origin of invitation of these two, if you like, that I suggested them. So so again, and if you go to the content of this workshop at American University of Beirut, you find that it's always there is a strong part about the Islamic movement and how Islamic movement hijacked the revolution and things like that. So if really this is important, if you imagine that the workshop about political economy of these intifadas, you may say, okay, fine, maybe you don't have an organic intellectual Islamic that interested on that, but it was really about the Islamists and always talking with their absence. So this is, if you like, a kind of something you can observe, and the same thing among curriculum, but also workshop organized by Islamist movement. Rarely you find really a good representation of, if you like, secular and people, or at least secular and then or liberal, if you like. So there is if you like, this is the motivation, the strong motivation why I did this this work. Yeah.
And if I just ask you, just on the polarization, I mean, do you think this is kind of common across these different contexts, or um, are there ways in which you would differentiate it? For example, is it a bit different in, say, the Levant to North Africa to Egypt to the Gulf,
Yeah,
or say this division is pretty
yeah.
much the same everywhere?
Yeah, you know, my forthcoming book, Sajad, is called Against Symbolic Liberalism, a plea for dialogical sociology. So my forthcoming book is to show that the polarization now really it's everywhere
Right.
and messed up not only by populism, by right-wing populism, but also by the liberal camp that they violate their own principle. So if you like, in a different degrees, I would say now the chilling climate of polarization, this intolerance of debate, you find it almost everywhere in a different degrees. Now, if you like, wherever you have a strong civil society, you have possibility of a debate much more in other places. For instance, in Morocco and in Tunisia. But this doesn't mean that there is no polarization. I mean, the place where you have a very hardline secularist. You find it in these two countries, for instance, where really, if you like, one of their philosopher, Moroccan philosopher, recently he wrote about he entitled an op-ed in a newspaper, the Islamist cancer, if you like. So he lived in a country where you have, if you like, almost 100% of Muslim, and at least we know a certain percentage of those who are with with BGD, with other Islamist movement, and you talk about them as a cancer. I mean, so, but nevertheless, if you like, there is a possibility of people to reply, etc., because there is a good outlet. While in other places in the Gulf, it's almost there is no debate. And so it depends the places, if you like, and what are the taboos? What are the issues that cannot be seriously discussed? So
But I guess in some ways what happens in the Gulf is that the debate does exist, but it exists in very restricted spaces, right? So, for example, it might exist in a certain diwania, or it might exist in a particular kind of think tank, etc. But it's not a public discussion.
uh, Uh, yeah, yes, but if you like, look, I mean, maybe I will give an example from my fieldwork from
Yeah.
Kuwait, uh, uh, where uh, uh, I I was in a visit in Kuwait after I finished my fieldwork on Faculty of Sharia, and I read, I analyzed the curriculum, including السياسة الشرعية, the legal politics, where it is really, if you like, a very hard Salafi doctrine, if you like, uh, delegalizing political parties, democracy, all, if you like, what now the mainstream Islamist movement progress toward, if you like, some of these principles. So I wrote in Al Qabas, in a Kuwaiti newspaper. I was interviewed and I talk about my observation in Faculty of Sharia in Kuwait. And when I left Kuwait, back to Lebanon, in the same day in the morning, Al Qabas published the interviews. So arrived to Beirut, I found in my phone a 20 missing call, around the 20 missing call, all from Kuwait. So I thought at a certain point that I forgot my passport uh, in Kuwait or something like that. So no, I found my passport, and after 5 minutes, I receive a call, the same number always, and so who is this? It's the head of the cabinet of the minister of al-Waqf, of Kuwaiti minister of Waqf, who read the interviews, and he told me, uh, uh, are, am I sure what I wrote, what I said? I said, yes, of course. I mean, I said, you are Minister of Waqf and you don't know what is taught in Kuwait University, in Kuwaiti University. He told me, no, but can you send me the reference? So the following day, I went and I scanned the book, what is taught, and I sent it to him. This show to its to which extent, if you like, a kind of an elite which operate in silos. Okay, the Salafi, certain Salafis, certain classic um, uh, Islam from one side, a Shiite Islam in other side in Kuwait, etc., etc. So this is this example, if you like, that even somebody in such political position in Kuwait is unaware what kind of curriculum is taught for the future imam on Kuwait, uh, uh, and uh, and jurists, because many of the Kuwaiti students start in Sharia before going to faculty of law, because they are unable to start by faculty of law who request a more high degree. So this, if you like, show you the situation. Yeah.
So coming to the book in a bit more detail. So can you tell us a few things about how you designed it? I mean, how did you choose your case studies? What sort of questions were you asking of the material and the field work?
As I told you, I work on a very artisanal way. I refuse to abide to any protocol from very beginning. If you like, it's happened that for instance, Syria was not in the agenda, but I have a cousin who was coming to Beirut, and I will host him at my home. So I exchange, and he studied Sharia. So I exchange this favor of staying at my home by bringing all the curriculum of Faculty of Sharia in Damascus University. So and as I had previously relationship to to Nasr Din Albani, one of the guru of Sheikh Nasr Din rahimahullah, and also my family historically, part of my family is close to Nasr Din Albani, a Salafi, scientific Salafi. So if you like, I found it very easy to analyze the Syrian curriculum, but it was not in my agenda. So I work in artisanal way, if you like, and this is how you end up really find I mean following serendipity and discovery. I mean come with more more delightful, if you like, if you have a protocol, and then you go and you find not very interesting etc. So Qatar, it was not in my agenda, but the College of Islamic Studies, and I see my dear friend Samir is here. So, so, so I think for me, it's compared to the other faculty of Sharia, is a very interesting place. I mean, it's really what I called an ethical turn of studying Sharia. It was now in current team who is working there. So this is how, and at certain point, I discovered while I was doing my field work that Islamization of knowledge is much stronger than I expected, and among not only the discourse of those who's in Sharia who says, okay, let's we have not, we are not against sociology, but we should Islamized sociology before using it, Islamized psychology before using it, etc. But also among sociologists that they do this eclecticism. And then realizing that International University of Malaysia, International Islamic University of Malaysia (IUM), is a black tournant, is a platform really for this project. And so I study. I spend almost 1 month and a half there to just to study this experiment and show how it has been developed and things like that. So this is, if you like, how I operate in organization. So in the beginning, there is no organization. I don't know whether I will go thematic or I will go geographically. But in the end, I collect so much data. I make so much effort to to remove details to end up by around 900 page, the Arabic version, if you like. Uh, it's really it's a grounded theory. It's much more than something designed. Yeah.
Um, can I just
Yeah.
ask you about the scope? So you said it was very much a focus on the faculties of Sharia, right? But I'm wondering, um, in some of these universities, do you not have the study of Islam outside of the faculty of Sharia? I mean, for example,
Uh,
is there such a thing as a department of religion, or a history department?
it's not popular at all. I mean, in the Arab world, I mean, yeah, rarely you have this kind of things. I mean, you don't have this fashion. You find it elsewhere. I mean, you have a very confessional studies of Sharia, if you like. Only in Bahrain and Iraq where you have a Sunni and Shia.
Yeah.
But for instance, the Shia community in Syria, they don't go to study Sharia in Damascus University. So it's a very confessional, if you like. And take Cape Town. Cape Town, you have religious studies, if you like, because it's a very diverse society in South Africa. But my dear friend, I for Tayyib, I forgot his first name, Abdel something.
Abdul Qadir Tayyib. Abdul
Abdul
Qadir.
Qadir, Abdul Qadir Tayyib, he told me once that that unfortunately you don't have any imam in South Africa who went through religious studies. I mean, they go to kind of seminaries and madrasa, Quranic schools, etc. I told him it's his mistake. It's a mistake of this curriculum. You should conceive a curriculum where the first year is religious studies, and then go to make people belonging to the study, and to study in a critical thinking way, but in a classical way, respecting how um, how if you like, the classic is taught, but how now uh, uh, we cannot understand religion without connecting it to the other spheres, economic spheres, cultural spheres, social spheres. So you need some basic of introductory courses, at least, of psychology, sociology, political science, etc., which is terribly missing in in many universities, if you like, who taught Sharia. It's a very classic, if you like, still very classic. Of course, you have, as I talk about, uh, three interesting uh, uh, models. One is Dar al-Hadith al-Hassani in Morocco, where really they take into account maqasid al-fiqh and the high objective of Islam. So it's clear, and this reflect in in the fatwas you find in Morocco, even among Islamist movement. I mean, I think one of the very important innovator mujtahid today is Ahmed al-Raisuni, who is the head of the Islamist movement, for instance, in Morocco. So I think the impact of doing good curriculum is really very important. I mean, this is where you see in Morocco. The other good example that I found interesting is a College of Islamic Studies I started talking about, where they take seriously study of ethics, if you like. And if you look to the Journal of Islamic Ethics, for instance, that is produced by them, how they invite sociologists, they invite social scientists to reflect on ethics, as well as religious scholar, people from Islamic studies, etc. So this encounter is really very important for the students that are graduated from there. And uh, I, I have a recent data about research studies there is very important. The third example I found it interesting is IOM by imposing to each scholar doing social science, scholar, I mean students doing social science, to minor in religious science. It's called uh, it has a specific name. In any case, it's um, uh, yeah, and vice versa. So you have uh, uh, you have people who study jurisprudence, fiqh, aqidah, creed, but at the same time they have a minor in economics, in psychology. So the first serious paper on Bitcoin uh, published by IOM scholar, for instance. So you see, this is quickly uh, you see this encounter, how it is important. So if you like, maybe this is because maybe it's time at certain point to open the discussion with my colleagues. But let me say something really important, and in continuation about what I finish about IOM, that in fact analyzing curriculum, if you like, not curriculum, the outcome of research on Islamization of knowledge. Those who said that we believe on unicity of epistemology, and unicity of the earth means and the God means that one episteme and one knowledge, logic, etc. I mean, I see this very cosmetic and something that really you feel very comfortable. But in fact, the 80 product I analyzed, I found really no breakthrough. neither in something important like families studies. I mean, how Islamization of knowledge can today understand the family, if you like, or other topic, environment, beyond this very, if you like, classical things to say, Islam against waste, Islam against this and that, and consumerism, etc. And if you like, I suggest in my an alternative approach, how to deal with the different sciences, because because I don't think there is an issue in our life, in our social life, economic life, political life, where there is no ethical dimension. And every time you say there is the ethical dimension, it means that there is religion enter, because sociologically, one of the sources of how of moral reasoning in the Arab and Islamic world is a religion. So in that case, religion is there, we like it or not. If it is like this, so how we resolve a problem where it has a dimension related to religion, has another dimension related to medicine, to sociology, psychology, political science, etc. So I suggest an approach called separation, connection, and multiple praxis. Of course, I inspired first by an Egyptian philosopher, Samir Abu Zaid, who talk about this methodology, but I develop it and I give it different meanings. So it means we will, if we study anything, if we, I take a case where in Islamization of knowledge, one of the first curriculum, not curriculum, I mean text, is said social science should not deal with issues where it has a clear decision. And one of the clear decision, it was no mixity in the school, for instance. So I said, no, wait a minute. I mean, let's each science has its episteme. It means that you can do a study in psychology. What is the impact of mixity, male, female, in a school? On performance in school performance, on well-being of students, etc. And in the same time, so you go, you do a sociological study as it should be, exactly, by using sociological episteme, if you like. And in the same time, you can have a religious studies where you see whether it's a really qat'iyya. We can understand it. We can interpret the text, or cannot be interpreted, etc. So using religious episteme, if you like. And then the connection, where we take into account what is what the phenomenologists called life words,
Yeah.
okay, or worldview. I mean, the worldview where you bridge between the outcome of different issue, or component of this problem. So and why multiple praxis? Because we should always be ready in this, in our each nation state, where no state without diversity. It means that we have the notion of citizenship. It means that we um, we should be prepared to have two outcome. One outcome where the preacher, a da'i, may say, despite you sociologists, you show me that mixity is better for our students. I I will keep preaching non-mixity. And we should respect it. Respect. If we respect the institutional autonomy, religious institutional autonomy, we should respect the da'i to continue say that. But we should also respect that as a state, as a custodian, or as the manager of citizenship. It means that we should take into account those who are not believer and they are not interested, just to not impose mixity because of religious reason. So they should accept that it will be no enforcement to all citizens. So this is, if you like, the way I go from the impasse of Islamization of knowledge to say, look, or integration of an eclectic way between different disciplines, but always with a kind of patronizing social science to say, yeah, but we want to be sure that it doesn't undermine the religion or something like that, as if religion is a clear, is fixed, etc. Of course, I mean, I do accept the idea that there is in the religion something fixed. I mean, so it's not. This is why in the world view, where really, if society agree on something, this will be reinforced despite the contradictory outcome. You know, just to give example, in France, no matter how much studies about wine that could the excess of drinking wine can harm our health, we know in France this is the least studied as a factors on health, on health studies. So the French world view, if you like, didn't take seriously, didn't want to know how harmful, if you like, a certain excess of wine, or whether it's better not to take it every day or something like that. The same thing for I would say for Muslim society, that they will opt for something despite some outcome of social science. So so if you like, uh, I go in this direction uh, to say, look, we need to cooperate. We social scientists, we cannot convince people if we are not operating using the lexicon of what Taha Abdul Rahman called Islamic Islamic Arab Islamic communicational field, الحقل التداولي العربي الإسلامي. Okay, so I think we need to talk lexicon people understand us. And the same thing for religious people. They cannot continue memorizing fiqh come from the second century of Hijr, and imposing it in the youth today. It's a break, really. I mean, last survey a few years ago in 4 Arabic countries see that uh, uh, 63% of the 4 countries, Jordan, Egypt, Tunisia, and Lebanon, against polygamy. And no matter if you are religious, moderately religious, or non-religious, the percentage is almost the same. Only if you are very religious that you have almost 100% in favor of polygamy. This show that how people, despite consider themselves religious, they break more and more some of the if you like the what some religious authority, particularly Salafis, presented as as something like fixed for no matter geography and time. So, so from both sides, there is things break, if you like, in society. So I'm trying with this approach to try to make some bridge.
Thank you. You know, I think we should open it up now because we're rapidly coming up to 6 o'clock. I'm actually happy to continue recording if everyone on the call, especially those who might want to ask questions, are happy to be recorded. I'm happy to continue recording. But if someone does ask a question and they don't want to be recorded, just let me know. So I'm going to open it up. Thank you for that beginning. Anyone has any questions, any comments? You can put it in the chat if you like, or if you could just put up your hand. The only person I can see right in front of me is Samir. I feel like I should pick on you, Samir, but I won't. Does anyone have any questions?
Okay, I can ask a question since I'm here and you picked on me.
Yes.
Well, first and foremost, I'm very
recognize
happy to see you, Sari. It's wonderful
Me too,
to see you.
Samir.
I mean, it's a generic one, as it were. The context that you dealt with are of different madhahib, all Sunni, as I understand, or most predominantly Sunni. Was there any, I mean, the Maghreb is Maliki, I'd imagine Malaysia is Hanafi predominantly, right? And so is Syria. Did that have any impact?
Malaysia Shafi.
Malaysia Shafi, you're right, sorry. Did that have any effect? Did that have any resonance? That's one question. The other question, I assume you're aware that there were attempts to deal with the question of ethics, the most famous of which in Al-Azhar back in the 40s, the very famous book of Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah Draz, Al-Akhlaq fi al-Quran al-Kareem. But I understand that kind of was left alone in Al-Azhar. I mean, he's a very revered figure, but it didn't carry on. But didn't have any effect outside that institution. And like you, he did that in a thesis in France. You know, that was his context.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's very, thank you, Sam. And again, so glad to see you. Look, let me say, I would say how relevant to be Hanafi, Shafi'i, or Maliki about innovations, ijtihad, is less and less thin, including Shiaism. If you like, I study Hausa, and I know Samer, you, and I have now two students studying with me in Hausa. So so if you like, you see the context of if you like, liberal study of Ja'fari madhab. It's over. It's over under the standardization imposed not imposed, if you like, politically, not by, but no, there is no funding for Hausa unless the curriculum is accepted by Jamiat al-Mustafa. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So if you like, eh, even if you like, when we used to say that there is a tradition of ijtihad in Shiism that you don't have it in Sunni, this also you need to contextualize it. So actually, it was very interesting that Al-Hanafi, particularly this madhab, is we consider it is more innovative, mujtahid, simply because it was the Ottoman Empire madhab. It means that there is a lot of rulings and rulings while there is really trading and etc. So I don't think there is a relevance of madhab on ijtihad. If you like, it is what really matter is if you like, I, if I want to be a little bit nasty, I would say that the far you are Salafism, if you like, this literalism of understanding Islam, the more innovative you are. So whenever you have the influence of Salafis, so you have it in Egypt, Samir, you have it in Syria, in Lebanon. You see really where the closure, if you like, and the conservatism in a sense of anachronical conservatism, if you like. So it's not muhafaza, it's really tazammud. So and it's a very interesting when I study the history of Dar al Hadith al Hasani, Samir, sorry, that in fact somebody whispered in the ear of the king of Morocco in the 50s that the Ahlul Hadith are it becomes Salafi synonym of Ahl al-Hadith. So there is no way to study Hadith without passing through Wahhabism and
But
or
that's
Albanism.
historically not true.
Yeah,
Historically,
yeah,
Hadith are Malikis and
no,
Hanbalis together, yeah.
no, but this is exactly this is really I take it from my interviews. I mean how that it at certain point in the 60s it was an influence of some disciple of Al-Albani and two or three muhaddith of of uh, of of the East, of the Orient. So the king wanted to create Dar al Hadith al Hasani. Hasani come from his name, Al
Ah,
Hasan,
yes,
in order to protect Morocco from this literalism come from Salafis.
I see.
Salafism. So if you like, this is how I see why Morocco is much more innovative than other places, if you like.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you.
And I would say I would say, for instance, one of the issue, really hot potato issue in innovation is otherness, is had the ridda, is how to do with non-Christian, with non-Muslims, etc. And the encounter is the proximity with the Europe, if you like, make it really compelling for them to generate some rulings that is very innovative compared to the other. You know, the most sophisticated حكم against أحكام الردة using لا إكراه في الدين and etc. is really done by Ahmed al-Raisuni. I would say he is really, if you like, the most pioneer in the Arab world in the last 15 years.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Any other questions, comments? I have a bunch of them, but I'm just going to wait. Okay. Well, let me ask the first of mine. I'm kind of interested in that broader kind of comparative context. So I'm wondering, did you have did you look at any of these relatively new institutions which have been established in, for example, Europe, where people are trained? So I'm thinking of places like the Islamic University in Rotterdam. There are institutions, of course, in France, which are about training people, primarily, as you said, in fiqh. There are institutions throughout Britain, for example. I'm not thinking just about seminaries, but I'm thinking about places which actually identify themselves as a university or try to. I mean, of course, there's the Muslim College in Cambridge as well. I don't know if you visited that when you were in Cambridge. So there are a number of these institutions which have now been established, and while they do retain a focus on fiqh, they try to do a lot more because they're aware of their context. So did you have a look at any of the material in these places and see how they might compare to the other case studies you had a look at?
Yeah, if you like, I study France only.
Okay.
France, and as a background study, I did study of European Council for Research and Fatwa.
Yeah.
And I did a study on, I collected 85 fatwas about related to migration,
Right.
using, if you like, internet. So, but I have a not only internet. For instance, I have a CD-ROM of all the Al Azhar. Sorry, I did a mistake. Not Al Azhar. Dar al Ifta in Egypt, for instance. So I was lucky to compare, to have a fatwas in early in 1920, for instance, by Muhammad Abdu, by etc. And until I have a I have, if you like, compare, and it's a clear the fatwas and coming from Europe is much more sophisticated, much more, in my sense, respecting maqasid al-Sharia, the high objective of Islam, than other. Okay. Now, when it come to schools, it's really it's varied. If you like, in France, you have institutes. Let me start by the institutes, because institutes is really very where you have the critical mass of Muslims going there to study Islam. And in the institute you have if you like, some more close to Salafis, but generally speaking, they are really very interesting institutions. In France, you have school of human science, Institut de Sciences Humaines, which now is closed because, of course, now in France, everything which can be related or to Muslim Brotherhood is completely closed, etc. And I study the curriculum, and the curriculum really where you study social science and etc. So I was very satisfied comparative as a comparative analysis compared to the other places, if you like. So I think I think there is some hope of these organizations, if you like, that produce something maybe interesting for the Arab world. And let me give you an example. For instance, if you take Yasser Qadi in United States, if you like, his writing, he is somebody who is in المجلس الأعلى الفقهي in United States, in North America, the High Council of Fatwas. Uh, uh, he is somebody in a network of imams in United States, and he write in Jazeera English. So I took a theme he wrote about it, about homosexuality and what position we can have today on homosexuality. You find it's amazing how he really respect, if you like, a kind of a minimal liberal positions, that no discrimination against homosexuals, but we have an ethical and conception of the good. What is a good sexuality? So don't, so in the name, so he really articulate, in my sense, a very close to public reason, if you like, how to handle today. You don't discriminate in a very diverse society, but in the same time you have the right to say, I have a conception of good life that I want to communicate it to my kids, and I don't want the school to interfere on it, for instance. So I see many innovations ijtihad coming from Europe, and through their schools, if you like, is very interesting. And I'm not someone who uh, 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 I mean, call for Islam for Europe. I mean, I think it's very manipulative from political power. We know now that there is institute in France for training imam. I mean, I have a colleague who went there. He told me it's scandalous in all level, if you like. It's a kind of taking the Quran, selecting specific ayah, verses. You say this is you can recite, this is you cannot recite. Is a in a very scandalous way, in a cheap way. I would say even Bashar al-Assad would not do it, if you like, and the dictator, the hard dictator in the Arab world cannot do it.
Of course, there's, I mean, the other example which might be worth looking at is the all of the new, well, not so new anymore, but the German centers for Islamic theology, of which there are 8 in different universities. And, you know, they're very much kind of run by Muslim academics to train. I think initially the idea was to train imams, but I think it's a bit broader now. So that might be an interesting comparison as well. But if
Yeah,
I could, yeah,
it's much more autonomy in German than in French, but also it's manipulated, and there is people who have access to this, and other they cannot. I mean, you have, you know, there is uh, the in the paper, it should be a clearance from two sides, from a committee where you have some NGOs, German Muslim NGOs, and from the German intelligence, if you like. But the NGOs are really screened in a way to find those who are so-called moderate institutions. But nevertheless, I mean, at least it's not nothing to do with the French one. I mean, French one is scandalous.
we could continue talking, but I'm just aware that it's Maghrib, so I need to go. I mean, I had lots of other questions. One of the question which I wanted to ask was if you had thoughts about a comparison with, say, Turkey or Iran in particular, where you have different histories of this sort of institutional development, particularly in the universities. I mean, I'm thinking, for example, that, you know, both the interesting thing that in both Turkey and Iran, most universities have 2 separate departments of philosophy, one which is in ilahiyat, in theology, and one which is in the arts faculty, in the Kulliyat al-Adab. And so that's a certain duality which is really interesting about how.
Yeah, and Ibn Khaldun University is really very interesting in Turkey.
Yeah.
If you like, just if, 2-3 words about Iran.
Sure. Yeah.
And maybe we wrap up. Iran is a very interesting. For instance, they criticize the concept of Islamization of knowledge, but in practice they do things really. It's very difficult if you have any suspicion of any innovation to have any position in the university, and especially in faculty of Sharia. And in Al Hawza and Al Qom, I mean, I have a student who went to study, and it was impossible to continue his study. Although he is a Shiite, he is religious, he has 7 years of studying al-Bahth al-Khariji in Beirut, but I mean, he was unable to study. He told me it's a very securitized domain, and unfortunately, what historically was very open historically is not anymore open in Hawza of Qom, if you like.
Okay. Well, anyway, we could continue this for a lot longer. But I think I will call this to a close now. Thank you, Sari,
Pleasure.
for the conversation. Thank you for everyone who's joined us. I will of course upload the video on our YouTube channel next week. Just to forewarn you, we will have what I hope will be a really exciting discussion with Kisha Ali about her new book, The Woman Question in Islamic Studies, which I think will be really exciting. So please do
Pleasure.
register for that. Thank you once again, Sari. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sari.
Pleasure.
And
Pleasure, Samir.
hope to see you all.
Ciao, bye.
very soon.
Bye, everyone. Bye.